and Dr. Hesterman joined us in saying, let's see if we can make it work. Please join me in welcoming him, because he is a gentleman with a great deal of vision, and he's made a lot of good things happen in this state.
Dick, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, and Mayor Walling, thank you for being here as well. It's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard a lot about you from our mutual friend Mark Ritchie over the years, and everybody. It's really great to be here. We didn't think it was going to expand this rapidly. In fact, I spent a good part of my career at the W.K. Kellogg Foundation doing grant making at that organization, and it was back in 2005 that we made a grant to a small farmers market in Tacoma Park, Maryland, because they had an idea to do something we had never heard of, and that is they wanted some money to provide some incentives for their shoppers to buy the fruits and vegetables, those shoppers who were on food stamps, or what's now called SNAP, the Michigan Bridge Card. And we thought this is kind of an interesting idea, never heard of it. So the first way I got involved in this kind of program was to fund a little grant, $5,000 to this market that's like, a tenth the size of this one. But I kind of followed that program through the years and watched it grow and watched it start to expand to a few markets here and there around the country. So when I left Kellogg Foundation and started the Fair Food Network back in 2009, I thought, Michigan needs this program. So I thought it was going to be just a small program in Detroit. We got some funding from Kresge Foundation and the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan. And we started with 5 markets in Detroit, little pilot program, just to see if we could do this here. And then something rather incredible happened, and a couple of folks from Flint were very involved in making that happen. Karen Aldridge-Eason. At that time, she was working, as she is now, as the liaison to the governor's cabinet for philanthropy. And Benita Melton at the C.S. Mott Foundation, who at that time was, as part of her assignment, was working with George Soros' Open Society Foundations in New York. And Mr. Soros had decided to create what was called the Special Fund for Poverty Alleviation, had made a commitment to bringing some of those funds to Michigan, but wasn't sure what they were going to do with it. So Benita and Karen and others were going around talking to people, and I'm invited to this meeting up in Lansing. I'm sitting in the governor's conference room, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing there. I had just started this small nonprofit. We had this tiny little program going on in Detroit, and here I am sitting with directors of a State Department of Corrections and Assistant Director of State Department of Education, and they're all pitching, what you give the money to the state of Michigan, here's all the great things we can do to alleviate poverty. And I'm thinking, I should probably go home, because I don't even know why I'm here. I'm the only nonprofit guy in the room. But Karen says, Orrin, toward the end of the meeting, Orrin, why don't you tell the story of what you're doing in Detroit? So I told them the story about what then was called the MOBUCS program. And that 5 farmers markets, basically somebody comes to the farmers market with their Michigan Bridge Card, and they get double their money. So they spend $20, they go home with $40 worth of produce, and the extra $20 can only be spent on Michigan-grown fruits and vegetables. So yes, it's about helping low-income families buy and eat healthier food. It is also about supporting Michigan farmers, supporting the local food economy. It's a both and. So I told them about the program, how we were doing, and thought, well, that was probably a wasted trip up to Lansing. About 3 weeks later, I get a call from Karen. She says, Benita and her team pitched the different ideas that they thought were worthwhile to Mr. Soros, and Mr. Soros decided there were only 3 things he heard about that were worth considering, and yours is one of them. What would it take to expand this program statewide? So that put us into a whole new thought process, and the short story is that the Open Society Foundations of Mr. Soros gave a challenge grant to the Fair Food Network, and they gave us $3 million to take this program statewide, but they said, you only get our money if you can match it with money from other foundations. So that's pretty smart. I mean, I've been in philanthropy before, and I know, that's a smart thing to do. Get the local foundations to pony up. So I can tell you right now, we have over 30 foundations supporting Double Up Food Bucks statewide. We have funding in place for this year and the next 2 years. you know, in Flint, generously supported now by C.S. Mott Foundation. And Shannon, thank you for all the great work you have put into this, and Aaron and Steve and others who have worked at the Ruth Mott Foundation to help this program. And we've been able to match that money locally with the money from the Open Society Foundations, and Kellogg Foundation gave us a very generous grant that allowed us to also bring that money to different places in the state that really needed it. They didn't have it geographically confined. Some of the community foundations supporting this work, say, for example, in Capital Region Community Foundation in Lansing, they're putting some money into the program, but they say we can only use this money in Lansing. So if any of you know other funders in the area that might be interested in supporting this, let us know. Let Rachel know, let me know, let Dick know, because we want to keep this program going and keep expanding it.